is Rechung Fujihira, and we're talking about startups in Hawaii. There's hope for them, and if you're a startup company, we're going to give you a lot of really good information and hope you're taking notes. Our show is being streamed live on ustream.tv and Spreaker.com, and those links are embedded on our website. So to get these live streams, just go to ThinkTechHawaii.com. And of course, if you want to join the conversation, ask a question, or make a comment, give us a call at 296-5467. That's 296-5467. And if you want to join us in our downtown studio, just call Jay Fidell. His email address is jay@fidell.com. Well, Rechung, thank you for joining us in the studio. Appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So, you are one of the founders of the Box Jelly, is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Well, there's a lot of exciting things that happen at the Box Jelly. And why don't you tell me a little bit about what the Box Jelly is and a little bit about Startup Weekend. That's that event you guys are going to be hosting there, right?
Sure. Yeah. So, Box Jelly is Hawaii's first and largest co-work space.
What is a co-working space?
A co-working space is a shared space, a place for people to do work, to have meetings. It's kind of like, you have your home office, or some people work from a coffee shop, and like a co-working space would be an alternative to either of those. And we've been doing it for a little over 2 years. Before we started, we were on this show, the ThinkTech show, kind of talking about the evolution for a while, and that was pretty fun. And it continues to evolve.
And so you were kind of reporting, you said, about your progress in creating the Box Jelly.
Mm-hmm.
And now that it's up, was it all that you expected?
Yeah, we didn't have too many expectations going into building it. It was a school project when we started at Chaminade and the Hogan entrepreneurs. And it kind of grew from being a school project to a pop-up, and from a pop-up to more of a permanent space. And we've just been lucky to be able to interact with the community of startups and that ecosystem out here and be a part of that evolution as well.
Well, so tell me about Startup Weekend.
Sure.
What is that?
So Startup Weekend is a 54-hour simulation of entrepreneurship.
So it's not real?
It's not necessarily real. We've had a couple companies that have come through and got funded. So TLET, one of our Blue Startups companies, is one of them. Aptly is another one. Cardio Panda has been funded from outside. Those are local, all local. Food Spotting is one that done pretty well from a mainland startup weekend. So some of them do, but it's not really about that aspect. It's more about kind of getting in and really trying out what it's like to be a startup entrepreneur for 54 hours. And it's a blast. Everybody always has a really good time.
And so how does it work? Tell me about, if I were to show up at Startup Weekend, what would happen? Would I be greeted with Lays, or is there something else that happens?
Yeah. No, so I think with Startup Weekend, basically, the first night is kind of fun. People who want to pitch an idea to the audience pitch an idea, and then they go ahead and form teams through kind of a process of voting. It's also pretty fun. And then the next 2 days, you're just cranking out, building your product. You have like developers, business people, designers, all kind of in the same room. Everyone's like working on their piece. And then on the third day, we have, on Sunday night, we have kind of a judging. So we bring in judges. Usually we fly a couple in from out of town. So last time we had it, we had Slava, one of the founders of Indiegogo, come down. And he was a judge, and like JJ from JJ Dolan's always comes down, and he's always a blast. And we have various other investors and entrepreneurs that kind of contribute.
And so, why do this?
One, it's really fun. Two, I think a lot of people, they have an idea and they're like, oh man, like Instagram, I thought of that. Like, well, I should have thought of that. Well, you should have, And I think with entrepreneurship, a lot of it is getting started and executing. So here's a chance to kind of, get your feet wet a little bit. And there's no real risk, right? You can do it in a safe environment. Everyone's being silly anyway, so it doesn't matter, if you fail or succeed. But but it's just a really good time. And on top of that, you just meet a lot of amazing people. I remember going to the first startup weekend that Danielle organized, maybe like 2 years ago now. And a lot of the people that I met at that startup weekend are like close friends of mine now.
So it's kind of like a mini college experience in 54 hours.
Yeah, you could say that. Like a startup college experience in 54 hours. Yeah, you could say that.
And so you mentioned a few good startups did come out of this.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say it's good practice for anyone who has a good idea to come on down, just practice what it takes to be a startup entrepreneur?
Yeah.
And then they go out and...
Yeah, definitely. I think, if you have the urge to really, you're like thinking about really stepping into the field and creating a company, I can't really think of other better ways to do it. And there's no real risk, it's cheap to do, and once you do it, you're gonna get immersed in the culture and meet a lot of great people.
And what would you say is the age range? Like, what do you have young kids showing up with ideas, or do you have retired people also showing up, or what do you have? Who's coming?
Yeah, it varies. I mean, probably the youngest are college students. We usually have a handful of college students come out, and it goes all the way up to people in their like 60s and 70s. The majority are probably in their 30s, maybe late 20s, early 40s, probably the majority. But I mean, it really is diverse, and Startup Weekend is really about just celebrating startup culture and connecting people in the end.
And is there an admission fee for this, or how does this work?
Yeah, so there is an admission fee. It will be posted. We just are finalizing our dates, so they're going to be in February, early February. I believe it's the first week of February. So if you go to honolulu.startupweekend.com, that's honolulu.startupweekend.com, and put the bookmark on it and keep on the updates and like our page on Facebook, you'll be able to see more details as they come out.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about startups when we get back from this break. You're listening to ThinkTech Friday. I'm your host, Attila Seress, here with Rechung Fujihira, talking about Startup Weekend and Startup in Hawaii. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
We want to thank our underwriters.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle in Kokowai, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the Gas Company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
I'm Nicole Horry. Thanks so much for joining us on ThinkTech.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time. Aloha, I'm Maria Kashem with our ThinkTech News. The city of Gumi, South Korea has debuted a wirelessly charged electric bus, becoming yet another city to embrace induction charging. The city and county of Honolulu doesn't have electric buses, and it doesn't have induction charging either. The Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology developed the online electric vehicle platform and use on some trams in Seoul. Now the route between the Gumi station and the Indong district has 2 induction-powered buses. It's the same technology used to charge phones and toothbrushes wirelessly, but on a larger scale. It relies on magnetic charge plates under the road and in the bus. When the bus passes over the plate, the 2 magnets are tuned and current flows to the onboard battery. The buses use batteries about a third of the size of batteries in an electric car. With a 7-inch gap between the road and the bus, there's 85% charging efficiency at 100 kilowatts from the road to the bus. The charging plates generally take up only between 5 and 15% of the total route and remain switched off until an induction-capable bus approaches. Inductive charging on buses makes perfect sense since they travel the same routes every day. Installing charging plates under the routes is easier than electrifying the whole transit network. Induction charging is already powering buses in Utah and Germany. Buses in Torino, Italy have used induction charging since 2003, and routes in Utrecht, the Netherlands, introduced induction back in 2010. I'm Maria Kashem. Now back to our program.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard of Kumu Kahua Theater, and when I was young I used to love watching Charlie Chan movies on Family Classic TV on Sunday afternoons. Our show at Kumu Kahua that runs from August 22nd through September 22nd is called Will the Real Charlie Chan Please Stand Up? It's written by Nancy P. Moss and takes place right here in Chinatown. I really hope you'll come in and watch it. You will love it. It's everything about the movies that you loved and more. Go to kumukahua.org to get more information and your tickets. We'll see you there.
Listening to ThinkTech Friday. I'm your host, Attila Seress, and we're here talking about startups in Hawaii. That there's hope for startups in Hawaii, and here telling us about what he's doing to make it better is Rechung Fujihira. We were talking about Startup Weekend. It's a 54-hour boot camp, I guess is the best way to put it, at the Box Jelly, where they're going to sit down and hammer out a virtual, I guess, a little what it takes to be an entrepreneur in just 54 hours. And at the end of it, they all vote. And throughout the process, they make lifelong friends, or at least he has. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to be coming up in the first week of February. More information is available at honolulu.startupweekend.com. And before we jump back into the conversation, one of the things we like to do every week here on ThinkTech is have an app of the week. And this week's app is actually a very new startup company. It's called Copy.com. So copy as in photocopy. Mm-hmm. And it's free cloud storage. Now everyone likes to dump their photos and pictures from their phone and computer into some sort of backup place. But typically they only give you about 5 gig. I think Dropbox gives you around 5 gig. Mm-hmm. Google Drive, same thing, 5 gig. Well, Copy.com gives you 15 gig. That's free. And then for everyone that you refer, you get 5 gig extra. Nice. So the guy who told me about this just today, he says, I already have 100 gig because I sent out an email blast this morning. And it's put on, I believe Barracuda Networks is the one that's behind it. So my guess is that they have lots of old hard disks sitting around and they don't know what to do with them. What are we going to do with this half a terabyte drive? We can't sell it. Well, let's put it into cloud storage.
Yeah, if it works, right?
Yeah, well, and of course, all these companies are only offering, best effort security. So, regardless of how much storage space you get, don't put anything on there you don't want someone else to see. So, good rule of thumb, right?
All right.
Well, we were talking earlier about, or during the break, about Startup Paradise. Now, that's not a way to describe Hawaii. It's something else. It's a program that you guys have created. Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about Startup Paradise and how it works and what it means?
Sure. So, Startup Paradise is about Hawaii, and it is a program as well. It's basically, everyone calls Hawaii paradise, and we agree. And we also agree that we feel that startups are a great way to help, not just boost our economy, but increase the quality of life for a lot of people out here. And we think that we can attract some of the best talent in the world out here. And, it's going to be kind of a evolution, or it's going to take time. We're doing this for the mid to long term, but we're very interested in bringing the best talent and creating strong startup companies here in Hawaii.
And so what is this? Is this a program? Is this policy? What are you guys trying to do here?
So what it is it's an organization, a loosely knit organization of people and organizations who are interested in pushing forward the startup culture and helping companies get recognition both here in the state and also in the mainland and abroad. And we have a lot of cool things going on over here. Of course, we're really proud of the things that we're doing at Blue Startups. But you know, we also are friends at Bump Networks and M Bloom on Maui, and the things at Nalukai they're bubbling up over on the Big Island. We're also very proud of those things as well. And there are a lot of stakeholders that are really trying to push things forward. Not only private actors, but you know, people in the state as well. So it's I mean, we see a lot of great growth, and even in this short amount of time that I've been lucky enough to be a part of the community, I've seen a lot of growth, and we just want to continue that forward and do what we can to help.
Well, and I think that's very noble. But what are really your goals? I mean, it sounds to me like you know, an accelerator like Blue Startups is designed to get a company from its infancy to getting capital in a very short period of time. So something like Startup Paradise. I mean, so far what you've told me, it sounds kind of like a club. Like it's kind of like a club. I'm guessing it's more than that, though.
Yeah, I mean, the same way I guess you would say like a Chamber of Commerce or HTA is a club.
There you go. Okay. With the purpose of networking and.
Right. So I mean, and it's not just Blue Startups or Box Jelly, although we're both involved. You know, we have different players. You know, like I said, the people out in Maui with M Bloom. We have Nalukai and Sultan Ventures are in various startups also. You know, helping out Experience Hawaii. So I mean, yeah, we're really. I think it's crazy because like Hawaii is really one of the best places to live, and it should be in the world, and it should be also one of the best places to work. People should have a living, and I know that startups aren't going to be, you know, the end all be all silver bullet to like solve all our problems, but I think that being able to bring in, you know, high paying jobs and help people take a hold of their own destiny and create new things is something that should be, you know, embraced.
Should be encouraged, yeah, and supported too, because that's the other thing. You know, for instance, you know, just to relate to a different problem happening in a different part of the country, evidently in the agriculture section, the Midwest, there's the average age of the farmer is 57 years old. So think about here in the tech industry, you and I are in the tech industry, let's just call it that.
Sure.
In the tech industry, that average age is a lot lower. And so you think about it and say, well, why is there no one who's entering the agriculture environment, right? Why is no one starting an agriculture company? It's because the cost of doing so is very high and the barrier to entry is very high. So it sounds to me like something like Startup Paradise is one effort to lower that barrier, to lower that very high startup cost.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I gotta say, out here, you're lucky to get away with $3 to $4 a square foot for office space.
Sure.
In many parts of the country.
Well, if you're looking for office space, come to the Box Jelly. No, but I mean,
and see, and you're addressing that problem, right?
I mean, yeah, and it's not just like high tech, high growth startups. You know, like we're really interested in, I mean, like say Energy Accelerator and the things they're doing there, right? So this is a government program that is designed to operate more like a private program in the way that they give out money and nurture companies. So, yeah, I mean, I think for us, it's mostly like a effort from, you know, private organizations, people, and companies, and yeah, it's time to continue to kind of build on what we're doing and push it forward with more speed and force.
I think it's the right timing too, and you know, it's interesting that a lot of these, you know, these big retail stores are struggling. It's because everything's going online. Why are you going to go to a huge Sears or a huge Macy's when you can see the same inventory online? It's the same thing, and people can work from home. Or some people can, and that direction is also starting to happen. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting, like talking about like Sears and Macy's and the retail experience. I think like even with us, like we have a small business called Fish Cake, which is a furniture store, and it's a retail space. And you know, really recently we've been doing a lot of soul searching and trying to figure out what does retail mean, you know, in 2013 and beyond. And I think we as our store needs to adapt for the times, and I think that big box stores and department stores also need to adapt for the times. And it's just how things are. It's okay, but it has to happen.
Well, how are you guys changing your business?
Yeah, so we're doing a few things. One, reducing the footprint to kind of lower overhead. And then we're creating something called Fish Cake Works, which is more service oriented. So instead of just selling furniture, we're also doing interior design services as well. I think, yeah, we have a new client. I'm not going to say their names yet, but it's a restaurant, a pretty cool restaurant. That's going to be our first Fish Cake Works project. And also looking at what can an online experience be, and what can we do with how we receive our inventory. There are a lot of cool companies like say Zara, for instance, and they're doing like just in time, kind of like how Toyota did it. But they're able to really hone in on what the customers want by ordering small batches of things, and we're kind of thinking about how we might be able to do that at a smaller scale with our small company. And then, of course, you have companies like Apple has shown that with their Apple Store that, maybe the normal kind of Best Buy experience isn't really enough, or how it has been in the past. And they let you kind of play with things, and it's really a place to interface with the geniuses as well, and kind of learn new things and get help. So physical, just because things are going online doesn't mean it's going to be just online, and I think there's nothing that can replace a face-to-face interaction with a person. But at the same time, you got to leverage the things that you have at your disposal.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that, and that'll go into our third segment where we talk about some of the challenges involved. But you are listening to ThinkTech Friday. I'm your host, Attila Seress. We're talking about hope for startups in Hawaii. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this break.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidell. This is ThinkTech Hawaii, broadcasting live from the Pioneer Plaza in downtown Honolulu. We raise public awareness about tech, energy, and globalism in Hawaii. Technology is critical to our state. A vibrant tech sector will give us new prospects in the global marketplace and will offer great careers and make our economy more resilient. Streaming live on Ustream and Spreaker, ThinkTech allows its hosts and guests invaluable opportunities to report important events and discuss important questions, and to be heard here in Hawaii and around the world. You can find links to our live streams on thinktechhawaii.com or on our mobile website, m.thinktechhawaii.com. And you can see our archive on YouTube. It's all just a click away. We want to do whatever we can to keep Hawaii relevant, connected, and thriving in the complexity of the 21st century. We hope you will help us in those efforts. Tune in today. This is ThinkTech. I'm Jay Fidell. Mahalo.
Aloha, I'm Sharon Moriwaki with the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. Please join Jay Fidell and me every Wednesday, 4 o'clock p.m. on Energy Wednesday. See you then.
I'm David Day, the host of Asian Review. This is a ThinkTech program in which we take the issues of the Asia-Pacific region, whether they be in business, in foreign policy, in national security, or geopolitics. And we take those issues and we try to probe down in some real depth. Maybe it's not always politically correct, but we get to the truth. We do things that the regular media can't do. And the reason that we can do those things is because we here at ThinkTech have the contacts, we have the network, and we can take the time and explore the issues in depth. Tune in every Thursday at 4 p.m. here at ThinkTech Hawaii.
Aloha, I'm Jay Fidell. Here's our ThinkTech news. Thousands of medical devices are vulnerable to being compromised by computer viruses. Hospital rooms beep and flash with many devices that are increasingly being infected with malware. But these gadgets are incompatible with commercial security software. Now, new technology developed by academic researchers could catch most malware in these devices by noting subtle changes in their power consumption. This could give hospitals a quick way to spot equipment with dangerous vulnerabilities and take it offline. The technology could also apply to computer workstations used in industrial control settings like power plants. The system, called What's Up Doc, is based on work done by Kevin Fu, who heads a research group on medical device security at the University of Michigan. The malware detector first learned the device's normal power consumption patterns. Then it was tested on machines deliberately infected with malware. It was able to detect abnormal activity more than 94% of the time when it was trained to recognize that malware, and up to 91% of the time with previously unknown malware.
And you're listening to ThinkTech Friday. I'm your host, Attila Seress. We're here with Rechung Fujihira, and we're talking about hope for startups in Hawaii. We've been talking about all kinds of interesting stuff, particularly Startup Weekend that's coming up in the first week of February. And we also have a February. We're not. February's behind us. It's February of next year.
Yes.
Oh, okay. But we're still preparing. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're talking about Startup Paradise. That's the new, what should we call it, social club?
Initiative.
Yeah. Initiative for startups to help get that entrepreneurial spirit, keep it alive and well here. Because, like Rechung says, if we don't invest in this now, we're going to have a lower quality of life later on. So, in this third portion of the show, we like to talk about some of the challenges that we face in bringing these things up. And, my first question is, why has it taken so long, and how is it that we've been able to survive this long without this push for entrepreneurship here in Hawaii? We've been around a long time.
Sure.
Why do we need to foster young people's inspirations in creating companies?
Well, I guess first, I haven't really been around on this scene, and out of school for very long, so I couldn't really talk about what happened before too much. But I think the way that the world works is changing from what it has been. I think that schools, while they're starting to kind of switch up, they're still very far behind in where they gotta go as far as how to operate in this new world. Being able to take initiative and being able to build your own thing is becoming more and more important. People aren't like having a job for like 20, 30, 40 years these days, right? A lot of people are bouncing from job to job, not necessarily because they want to, although a lot of times they do, but a lot of times it's also because there's no more job left. So how do you navigate this world that we're living in now? Fast Company had a really interesting series of articles about Generation Flux. And if you want to check out, their website, you could probably check out that Generation Flux. And it really says, where we're at now. And we are at a time of tremendous change. And being able to adapt to this change is crucial, I feel. And I think that the entrepreneurship really helps people. Like, the name of the game is being able to adapt to change. So even for people who don't necessarily create their own businesses, having an entrepreneurial mindset in the things that they do can be helpful. And we just like to see more of that, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that. One of the things that we had, like, a college counselor came by and spoke to us back when I was in university.
Sure.
And they said, one of the models that they try to foster in with these people who are entering the job market, and this was a few years ago, is that you want to kind of be like the guy who's a waiter. The guy who's doing tables also probably has a couple other jobs and is probably also working at school. You can't have just one thing. You have to be doing self-improvement, probably a couple jobs, right? So multiple streams of income, because the economy is not on stable ground anymore, and anything is due to collapse at any minute.
Yeah.
And You know, I remember reading a few articles from the Generation Flux, and there's also a book by Reid Hoffman. He's the guy, one of the founders of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And it's called The Startup of You.
Okay, yeah, I've seen it.
And great book. It addresses the same thing. It says, you know, pretty much that we used to be on this escalator where you could just stand in place and you would slowly rise to the top just through, who knows, I don't know, magic. And that doesn't exist anymore. Now it's just we're in this big wide open field, just grabbing at whatever we can.
Yeah.
And there's,
I mean that's very true. And for those of you who are out there, especially people our age, and actually everybody, like being able to surround yourself with people who are able to see this and are also maneuvering is super helpful. Because when everyone's kind of moving in the same direction, you're able to kind of glean information and wisdom from them. So yeah, I think it's an exciting time. I think it's an exciting time. It's also a scary time, but it's okay.
Well, we'll get there, and it's nice to have these mentors. Although my question to you is, these mentors succeeded in a job market and in an economy that's different from what we're going through now. How are they qualified to tell us what to do?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that's true. But there's certain things that you get by being in the presence of someone who's been there and done that you can't get from reading a book. Of course, you don't want to just, you want to probably have multiple mentors and, read different things and kind of get a good rounded perspective. It's funny, I was talking to Attila this morning about the same kind of question. And they had went to 500 startups and went through the program there, and they learned a lot of interesting tactical things about how to create a thriving startup company from some of the most brilliant minds out there in Silicon Valley. But at the same time, when they came and they went through the Blue Startups program, what they got was they had people who have been doing this for decades, and they got a real grasp of the principle, the foundational things. Tactics are tactics, but foundation and principles and knowing the laws of business and life, those are things that withstand the test of time.
So you still get the basics out of it, and then you just hope for the best, right? That's pretty much all you can do.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that, although the technology is changing and things are crazy, when it comes down to it, a lot of what we do is all about people, right? And whether you're living in like the 17th century or the 21st century, you're still creating things with people. And you could spend a lifetime learning the lessons, how to like be genuine and interact with people in the right, or in whichever way you choose to. So yeah, I think our mentorship is very, very relevant.
Plus you prepare, right? Part of this is you set yourself up so that you can succeed, even if you're not 100% sure about the businesses, what it's going to be doing. Because obviously business plans change too.
Oh yeah,
so like you said, your business was fish cake, doing furniture store sales, and then now you're transitioning more towards services. And fish cake could end up being a services only company with some minor role of equipment sales or product sales in the back end.
Yeah. So to clarify, it's a family business that I help with some. But so definitely, things change. If you look at any great company, they started out as one thing, and then a lot of times they end up doing completely different things. And I think the transformation the evolutions and the transformations that happened, 100, 200 years ago were a lot slower. So you kind of have to take, a historical perspective, whereas things have just sped up, greatly. So nowadays the things that took 50 years, happen in like 2 years, right? So it's just, but it's I don't know if it's changed that much. It's just I think the speed has changed though dramatically, and distribution has changed dramatically as well.
Well, I have a really good story about 3M.
Okay.
Yeah, about a little bit about how they started. And are you familiar with the story?
No.
No, it's very interesting. So originally, I think this was around the 40s, something like that. This rich guy purchased he was swindled into buying a mine, right? And that mine was, I think it was a coal mine or something like that. And his friend took off with the money, and he shows up at the mine, and there's nothing but sludge everywhere. Sludge. Sludge. And he's like, oh, what am I going to do?
Not a good deal. Yeah.
Not a good deal. But he's got all this sludge. So he starts sitting there and he starts experimenting with the sludge, maybe grinding it down, processing it, whatever. And as he processes it, he figures out that he can stick it on paper. And it was really good at sanding things. And so that was the first sandpaper. Now later on, right? So he makes a lot of money and protects himself with all the sandpaper patents, and he gets very good at applying finer grains of sandpaper, and the gluing process, the process of gluing the sand onto the paper becomes their expertise. So next come the 70s and the 80s, we have magnetic tapes, right? And they need to find a way to get that tape and that magnetic material onto the tape. And guess what? They're already well experienced in this process of gluing it onto the tape. So the magnetic tape starts coming out. And then later on, they're able to expand into other fields, and now they're doing digital signage software. So go figure. But the idea is that they're always innovating, right?
Yeah.
And if you really think about it, the product of any tech company isn't a physical device like this iPad. It's the innovation. Once you stop innovating, that's when you stop growing.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we get back from our break. This is ThinkTech Friday. Stay tuned.
Nice story.
We want to thank our underwriters.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric on Maui and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company.
The High-Tech Development Corporation, the state's leading technology agency, attached to the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism.
Castle in Cook, Hawaii, with a time-honored legacy that spans more than 160 years and revolves around its mission of investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state.
Hawaii Gas, formerly the gas company, a proponent of the Liquefied Natural Gas Initiative, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future.
Collateral Analytics, a Hawaii-based tech company empowering the real estate industry with greater and faster access to the tools and data they need to make better informed property investment decisions.
I'm Nicole Horry. Thanks so much for joining us on ThinkTech.
I'm Maria Kashem. See you next time. Aloha, I'm Maria Kashem with our ThinkTech News. The city of Gumi, South Korea has debuted a wirelessly charged electric bus, becoming yet another city to embrace induction charging. The city and county of Honolulu doesn't have electric buses, and it doesn't have induction charging either. The Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology developed the online electric vehicle platform and use on some trams in Seoul. Now the route between the Gumi station and the Indong district has 2 induction-powered buses. It's the same technology used to charge phones and toothbrushes wirelessly, but on a larger scale. It relies on magnetic charge plates under the road and in the bus. When the bus passes over the plate, the 2 magnets are tuned and current flows to the onboard battery. The buses use batteries about 1/3 of the size of batteries in an electric car. With a 7-inch gap between the road and the bus, there's 85% charging efficiency at 100 kilowatts from the road to the bus. The charging plates generally take up only between 5 and 15% of the total route and remain switched off until an induction-capable bus approaches. Inductive charging on buses makes perfect sense since they travel the same routes every day. Installing charging plates under the routes is easier than electrifying the whole transit network. Induction charging is already powering buses in Utah and Germany. Buses in Torino, Italy have used induction charging since 2003, and routes in Utrecht, the Netherlands, introduced induction back in 2010. I'm Maria Kashem. Now back to our program.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard of Kumu Kahua Theater, and when I was young I used to love watching Charlie Chan movies on Family Classic TV on Sunday afternoons. Our show at Kumu Kahua that runs from August 22nd through September 22nd is called Will the Real Charlie Chan Please Stand Up? It's written by Nancy P. Moss and takes place right here in Chinatown. I really hope you'll come in and watch it. You will love it. It's everything about the movies that you loved and more. Go to kumukahua.org to get more information and your tickets. We'll see you there.
Joining us in the conversation is Rechung Fujihira. Hi, and those of you who missed any part of the show, you can always jump onto our website at thinktechhawaii.com, download the podcast, check us out live. We're streaming this video on YouTube, so you can always get the links for that there. And we've been talking about Startup Weekend. It's a upcoming 54-hour startup boot camp for anyone who's had a great idea and wants to see what it would take to make it happen. There's also Startup Paradise, which is a consortium of startup professionals and startup enthusiasts who want to help the startup community here in Hawaii. And of course, when we last left the conversation, we were talking about the overall climate from an entrepreneurial perspective here in Hawaii. And Rechung, I was in California a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
And it was weird. I would step out into the street, and there was a startup person there.
Yeah.
And then I would go a block, and there was another startup person there. And then, if I were an investor, I'm guessing all these startup people would have been grabbing onto my legs. Just like how my 4-year-old, right? He grabs onto my legs. He says, "Daddy, walk." Walk.
Yeah, thank you.
So there seems to be a big startup environment in California, and it seems non-existent here. But you're working hard to build that. Well, and is that what why is it that California is so startup and cool and everyone's interested and excited to do these new things, and here, I don't get that.
Yeah,
do you think that you're really making a difference with these programs?
Yeah, well, it's not just me. There's a bunch of us all working together, and I think that's kind of the beauty of it. And this is like a long-term thing, right? So whenever you want to really build something, you have to start working on the foundation and just build it brick by brick. If you look at a place like Boulder, Colorado, which is very similar to Honolulu in a lot of ways, great quality of life. It's they too. There was a time where things weren't how they are now, and now they're one of the top startup communities in the world. Wow. Period. Right? And it's Boulder. It's a tiny place, right?
That's random.
It's random, but it's amazing and it's beautiful. And I think
very flat. I remember going there once.
Yeah, it's like flat, but you have like these beautiful mountains in the background, and great places to eat. And just a clean environment. Like it's a place where you'd want to live. Now, I don't know. I also I prefer the ocean and where we are here. I'm thinking. Like I said before, in the past 2 years, I've seen a lot of changes, not just in the amount of activity, but the attitude of people as well. And I feel that it will continue to grow.
Well, what everyone wants to do in California is they want to be the next Facebook.
Yeah.
They want to be the next Apple.
Yeah.
And all these success stories, of Apple and I think even some part HP and Dell and all these these big companies comes from California. So they look at it and these are the heroes, right?
Yeah.
The Steve Jobs. Oh, he's our hero. He was like the oracle of Northern California.
Sure.
For the longest time, and everyone wants to be like them. So in Hawaii, who does everyone want to be like? Hank Rogers?
Well, I mean,
Like you?
that's funny.
I'm putting you on the spot
I
now.
haven't done anything.
You've done a lot, sure.
Well, I don't think it has to be defined by geography necessarily, and I can't speak for other people.
Who do you want to be like?
Just want to be the best version of myself. I've tried to be other people. It doesn't work too well.
So who's your hero?
Who's my hero?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Well, everyone throws out Elon Musk. I mean, that guy's amazing. But I don't know. The person whose biography I recently read, who I admire a lot these days, is Jay-Z.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z, yes. I mean, it's kind of random, but I don't know. It's pretty cool what he's done. I mean, he came up from nothing, and he's basically changed the business models of every business that he's went into. And, you know, although he has a persona of being like this, like, you know, kind of over the top tough guy, you know, I really have a feeling that he's probably, you know, a really like intellectual, you know, just a smart dude trying to do his thing. And he has, you know, his Beyonce too, so hey, I could get mad at that, right? But yeah, no, I mean, he's, and the way that he markets things is really interesting. Yeah, Elon, I mean, the thing I really like about Elon is that he's tackling problems that are relevant and need to be tackled. Like, nobody needs another Instagram. Even having Instagram alone, like, who cares, really? I use it every day. I love it. But,
You got one.
I mean, yeah, I use Instagram, of course. But, I mean, we have the brightest minds. Someone just wrote on my Facebook page, I forget who it was, but they said there was a quote of somebody, the brightest minds, I've seen the brightest minds in the world working on developing spam filters, you know, and I feel this might be true. Why not use some of this awesome intellectual capital, and instead of building crazy financial models of things that don't really create value, quote unquote value, tackling some of the most difficult problems that we have in the world right now and creating profit at the same time. I think that's what excites me.
Well, and that's part of the green movement, and that's what Elon Musk is trying to do. And
Yeah,
he has
man.
big vision. I mean, he sees himself going to Mars in his lifetime, preparing for it. And we had that biodome that just finished up over here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's hitting milestones, so, you know, we'll see how it goes. I'm rooting for him, definitely.
well, you know, it's funny that you mentioned Jay-Z. I was reading Kevin O'Leary's book, and he mentioned it was kind of funny that there was Mick Jagger. You know, and he's got like the big sway. He's like the big, you know, the big rock
That
star.
guy, yeah.
But then he says as soon as the cameras are off,
Yeah.
he steps into his back room and he's counting every dime that he's getting in from his royalties.
Yeah,
That guy, he's on it. He knows exactly what's where his money's going and where it's coming in and out. So
Yeah, it's important. There's a lot of things that are important, and money is one of them.
well, and making a difference, right?
Sure.
So
I think
there we go.
if you're able to, then you should do it.
Well, so why don't you tell me just in because we only have about a minute or so left. You know, 5 years from now,
Yeah.
what's your vision of the startup community here in Hawaii? Are we going to have some big players that grow in the next 5 years? Are we going to have some people to look up to? Are you going to be one of them?
I think that I think it's very likely that there will be some pretty good things, pretty strong companies coming out of Hawaii. I think the 5-year mark, I'm looking more at a 10-year mark. I think that we're becoming more engaged. We're going to be attracting a lot more talent from outside, and we'll be able to retain the talent. I'm a little bit concerned about the education system, and I really hope that we can get local people who can work at these places as well. And that's kind of one of the next initiatives I think one of the things that we'll have to really look at closely and see what we can do from the private sector to help. There are a lot of people doing a lot of stuff right now, but it's not enough. We need more.
And we'll get there. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate you coming by. And, you know, looking forward to great things in the next couple of years. And so we're going to hold you to a very high standard. I hope you don't mind.
Surrounded by good people.
There you go, surrounded by good people. Well, if you missed any part of this program, be sure to visit our website and download the podcast, thinktechhawaii.com. And of course, if you want more information about Startup Weekend, that link is honolulu.startupweekend.com. Thanks again for being on the show, Rechung. Appreciate it. Thank you to our Chief Engineer, Jack Waters. Account Manager is Patrick Leonard. Our Board Operator is Leah Rodriguez. And Jay Fidell, he's the founder of ThinkTech, and he makes all of this possible. And thank you, the listener, for listening. I'm your host, Attila Seress, and we'll be back next Friday. But be sure to tune in Wednesday with Jay Fidell for more ThinkTech. Remember to appreciate life, do good to others, and have a great weekend. Aloha.